lads, welcome back to the channel. Today we're back with some more championship predictions, and it is at the weekend this time instead of in midweek. I'm just going to say this now, this was filmed on Friday, but I won't have time to edit it and get it out, so you're probably seeing this on Saturday, and I'm just letting you know that I didn't cheat. So just let's get straight into the predictions. First game is at Friday on 6 o'clock, and it is at the John Smith Stadium between Huddersfield Town and Luton Town. Huddersfield currently sitting 19th spot on 47 points, whereas Luton are obviously bottom of the table on 41. In the last three, Huddersfield, they've done alright. They beat Birmingham 3-0, then back-to-back 0-0 draws against Preston and Barnsley. Slowed down their momentum after that big win against Birmingham. Luton, on the other hand, they've not been on the greatest form in those last three games. They drew 1-1 with Leeds and then got hammered 5-0 by Reading, and then a 1-1 draw last time out against relegation rivals Barnsley. For this one though, despite the form, obviously Huddersfield are in better form than Luton. I think Luton might be able to nick this one, and I'm going to go for a 1-0 away win for Luton. Next game is the other Friday night game between Fulham and Cardiff at Craven Cottage. This one kicks off at 8:15. Fulham currently sitting 4th spot on 73 points, whereas Cardiff are in 6th on 64, sorry. So two teams pushing for playoffs going head-to-head in this one. In the last three, Fulham have won every single one of their games, so they're on great form at the minute. They beat QPR 2-1, and then back-to-back 1-0 wins over Birmingham and Nottingham Forest. Cardiff, on the other hand, their form's slowed down a bit recently. A 0-0 draw against Charlton and a 1-0 win over Bristol, and last time out they lost 3-2 to Blackburn. For this one, I think Fulham are on great form at the minute, so I'm going to go for a 2-0 home win for Fulham. Next game is the first on Saturday at 12:30 between Charlton and Reading at the Valley. Charlton currently in 20th place on 46 points, just 2 places above the relegation zone. Reading, on the other hand, they're in mid-table, 13th place on 53 points. In the last three, Charlton have not been on the greatest form. Drew 0-0 against Cardiff, and then back-to-back losses, 1-0 against Millwall and 2-1 against Brentford. Reading, on the other hand, their form has picked up a little bit recently. In the first of the last three games, they lost 3-0 against Brentford. But then obviously they did go through that 5-0 thrashing against Luton, where Yaku Maite scored 4 for them. And then last time out they drew 0-0 against Huddersfield. For this one, I think it will be a 0-0 draw because there haven't been many goals involved in Charlton's games recently. And I think Reading won't be able to replicate the 5 they scored against out-of-form Luton. Next game is once again on Saturday at 12:30, and it is at Pride Park between Derby County and Brentford. Derby currently sitting 9th spot on 61 points, whereas Brentford are just outside the top 2 in 3rd place on 76. In their last 3 games, Derby, they have won, drawn and lost. They beat Preston 1-0, drew with Forest 1-0, and then last time out lost 2-0 against West Brom. Brentford, on the other hand, have won every single one of their games. In the first 2 of their last 3, they won 3-0 against Reading and Wigan, and last time out they beat Charlton by a smaller margin compared to all their other games, only winning this one by 2-1. For this one, I think Brentford are just such a good side and they're on great form at the minute, so I'm going to go for a 3-1 away win for Brentford. Next game is the first of the 3 o'clock games on Saturday, and it starts off at Oakwell between Barnsley and Wigan. Barnsley currently is in 23rd spot on 42 points, whereas Wigan are in 15th on 53, slowly climbing away from that relegation places, although if they do get that 12-point deduction that the EFL have threatened them with, I think they'll be put right in the mess. Barnsley, like Derby, in their last 3 have won, lost and drawn. They beat Blackburn 2-0, then lost 4-0 to Stoke, and then last time out drew 1-1 against bottom of the league Luton. Wigan, on the other hand, they've won 2 of their games and lost the other one. They beat Stoke 3-0, but then lost 3-0 to informed Brentford. But then last time out, they bounced back with a 1-0 win over QPR. For this one, I think Wigan are on better form and I think are a better side than Barnsley, so I'm going to go for a 2-0 away win for Wigan. Next game's at Ewood Park between Blackburn and West Brom. In their last 3, Blackburn, they lost 2-0 to Barnsley, 3-1 to Leeds, but did bounce back last time out with 3-2 win over Cardiff. They currently sit in 10th place on 59 points. West Brom, on the other hand, are in 2nd place on 80 and have won every one of their last 3. They beat Wednesday 3-0, Hull 4-2, and last time out they beat Derby 2-0. For this one, I think West Brom, they're on great form, so I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win for West Brom. Next game is between Hull and Millwall at the KCOM Stadium. Hull currently sitting 22nd spot on 45 points, occupying that top relegation spot. Meanwhile, Millwall are in around mid-table, 11th spot on 59 points. Hull, in the last three, they beat Middlesbrough 2-1, but then have lost their last two games, 4-2 to West Brom and 2-1 to Bristol City. Millwall, on the other hand, they've been on better form than Hull, but not been on the greatest form either. They drew 1-0 with Swansea, then beat Charlton 1-0, and then they lost 2-0 to Middlesbrough last time out. For this one, I think both teams on similar forms, so I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw with this one. Next game takes place at the Riverside between Middlesbrough and Bristol City. Middlesbrough currently sitting 18th spot on 47 points, whereas Bristol are in 12th on 58. Middlesbrough, in the last three games, they lost the first two of them, 2-1 against Hull and 1-0 against QPR, but then bounced back last time out with a 2-0 win over Millwall. Bristol are pretty much in the same form as them. They lost the first two of their last three, 1-0 against Forest and Cardiff, but then last time out they did bounce back with a 2-1 win over Hull. They were in a really bad period of form where Bristol, which ended up leading to Lee Johnson getting sacked, but they did manage to bounce back last time out, importantly for them. For this one, I think both teams, they're pretty even on form, and I think that will mean that this game will finish as a 1-1 draw. Next game is at Deepdale between Nottingham Forest and Preston. Preston being the home side, obviously. Preston are currently sat in 8th spot on 61 points, whereas Forest are in the playoff spaces in 5th place on 68 points. Preston, they've bounced back from their bad form recently. The first two of their last three lost 1-0 to Derby and drew 0-0 with Huddersfield. Then last time out beat Wednesday 3-1. Forest, on the other hand, they've been on similar form sort of to Preston with regards to the last three, as they have won, drawn and lost as well. They beat Bristol 1-0, drew 1-0 with Derby, and then last time out they lost 1-0 to Fulham. For this one, though, I do think Forest are a better side than Preston, and I don't think that they weren't on as bad form as Preston were. So for this one, I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win for Forest. Next game takes place at Kean Price Foundation Stadium, and it is between QPR and Wednesday. QPR currently sitting 14th spot on 53 points, whereas Wednesday are in 16th on 52. In the last three, QPR, they've lost two of them and won a game as well. They lost 2-1 to Fulham, won 1-0 against Middlesbrough, and then lost 1-0 to Wigan last time out. Wednesday, on the other hand, we've lost our last three. 3-0 against West Brom, 2-1 versus Swansea, and 3-1 against Preston. For this one, I'm just not very confident with Wednesday. We've run a very bad streak of form, and it's because we've not been taking our chances. So for this one, I'm going to go for a 2-1 home win for QPR, but I really hope my prediction is incorrect with this one. Game is the first of the two games on Sunday, which both kick off at 1:30, and it is at the Bet365 Stadium between Stoke and Birmingham. Stoke currently sitting 21st spot on 46 points, just a place outside the relegation zone, and Birmingham are in 17th on 49. In the last three, Stoke have lost two of them and won one of them. They lost 3-0 against Wigan, beat Barnsley 4-0, and then lost 5-0 against Leeds. Birmingham, on the other hand, have lost every single one of their games. Lost 3-0 against Huddersfield, 1-0 against Fulham, and a 3-1 loss against Swansea last time out. I think both these teams are on similar form, although Stoke did beat Barnsley 4-0, but I think they'll have been just knocked back down to the ground after that 5-0 hammering against Leeds last time out. So for this one, I think both teams are very even, so I think this will be a 1-1 draw. Moving on to the last game of this game week, which takes place at the Liberty Stadium between Swansea and Leeds. Swansea currently sitting 7th spot on 63 points, whereas Leeds are obviously top of the league on 81 points. In the last three, Swansea are unbeaten, just like Leeds, in fact. They drew 1-0 against Millwall, but then back-to-back wins. They beat Wednesday 2-1 and Birmingham 3-1. Leeds are on pretty much the same form as Swansea. They drew 1-0 with Luton, but then, like Swansea have won their last two. Beat Blackburn 3-1 and then hammered Stoke last time out 5-0. For this one, I think Leeds, they just want to get to the Premier League as soon as possible because they're very renowned around this league for bottling promotion. And I think they'll be pushed on by that hammering again they gave to Stoke last week. So for this one, I'm going to go for a 3-1 away win for Leeds. Like a Hellcat.